Deep within each of us lies a universe of extraordinary complexity. It is the brain, a living network of connections that shapes every thought, every feeling, every action. The fundamental building blocks of this world are tiny cells called neurons. There are billions of them, each one a messenger carrying vital information. Imagine them as intricate, branching trees with long trunks and delicate roots. These neurons are constantly active, chattering to one another in a silent language of electrical pulses. This is the very foundation of our consciousness, a ceaseless, humming conversation that defines who we are. It is a remarkable piece of natural engineering. These electrical signals travel down the length of a neuron, much like a spark racing along a fuse. But a neuron doesn't work alone. It must pass its message on to its neighbors. The point where one neuron connects with another is a place of great importance. It is called a synapse. This is not a physical connection, but a tiny microscopic gap. Here, the electrical message is transformed. It becomes a chemical signal, a puff of molecules that drifts across the gap. This chemical whisper is then caught by the next neuron, which converts it back into an electrical pulse, continuing the message's journey. This process happens countless times every second. This intricate dance of electricity and chemistry is the essence of brain activity. It is how we see the world, hear a sound, or feel a touch. Each signal is a piece of data, a fragment of our experience. The synapse ensures that this information flows smoothly from one part of the brain to another. It is a biological relay station of incredible speed and precision. The sheer number of these connections is almost beyond comprehension. A single neuron can form thousands of synapses, creating a web of pathways so dense that it contains more connections than there are stars in our galaxy. It is a truly staggering thought. So the brain is not just a collection of cells. It is a dynamic, interconnected system. The neurons are the communicators, and the synapses are the bridges that allow their messages to cross. Together, they form a vast and beautiful orchestra, playing the symphony of the mind. Every note, every chord, is a signal passed from one neuron to the next across these tiny synaptic gaps. Understanding this fundamental process is the first step in exploring the more mysterious wonders of the brain, such as how we learn, remember, and even feel a sudden flash of intuition. The machinery is in place for something truly magical to occur. The brain's network of neurons and synapses is not static. It is not fixed like the wires in a machine. Instead, it is a living, changing landscape. This remarkable ability to adapt and rewire itself is known as synaptic plasticity. Think of it like forging a path through a dense forest. The first time you walk it, the journey is slow and difficult, but with each trip, the path becomes clearer, wider, and easier to travel. The connections in our brain work in a very similar way. When we learn something new, certain pathways between neurons are used repeatedly, and those connections grow stronger. This strengthening of connections is the physical basis of learning and memory. When a synapse is used frequently, it becomes more efficient. The sending neuron might release more chemical messengers, or the receiving neuron might become more sensitive to them. The bridge becomes easier to cross. This is why practice makes perfect. Whether learning to play a musical instrument or memorizing a poem, the repetition strengthens the specific neural circuits involved. The brain is literally reshaping itself in response to our experiences. It is a beautiful example of nature's ability to adapt and grow, all happening quietly inside our heads. Conversely, pathways that are not used begin to weaken. The synaptic connections can shrink and the communication can become less effective. This is the use it or lose it principle at work within our own minds. Memories that are not revisited can fade over time, as the neural pathways that hold them fall into disuse. This process of pruning away unimportant connections is just as crucial as strengthening new ones. It allows the brain to remain efficient, clearing away the clutter so it can focus on what is most relevant. It is a constant, delicate process of construction and deconstruction within this living network. So, our memories are not stored like files in a computer. They are etched into the very structure of our brains, in the strength and pattern of these countless synaptic connections. Every experience, every lesson learned, leaves a physical trace. This ever-changing web of strengthened and weakened pathways creates a unique map of our individual lives. It is this incredible plasticity that allows us to learn from the past, adapt to the present, and prepare for the future. Our brain is a living diary, written in the language of synapses, constantly updating its pages with each new day. Beyond the deliberate step-by-step process of logical thought, the brain has another, more mysterious way of knowing. We call it intuition. It is that sudden feeling, that gut instinct, that tells us something without us knowing precisely how or why. It is not magic. It is a powerful form of mental processing that happens incredibly fast, often below the level of our conscious awareness. Intuition acts like a mental shortcut, piecing together vast amounts of information from our past experiences and knowledge to arrive at a conclusion in a flash. It is the brain's way of making a rapid assessment of a situation. This process is profoundly different from analytical thinking. When we think analytically, we consciously line up facts, weigh the pros and cons, and follow a logical sequence. It is a slow, careful, and deliberate effort. Intuition, however, bypasses this painstaking work. It feels automatic, effortless. It is the firefighter who instantly knows a building is about to collapse, or the doctor who senses a rare diagnosis before the test results are in. Their brains are not guessing. They are rapidly accessing and synthesizing years of stored patterns and experiences, all in the blink of an eye. This rapid cognition is a highly sophisticated form of pattern recognition. Our brains are magnificent pattern matching machines. Throughout our lives, we are constantly absorbing information, much of it unconsciously. We learn to recognize facial expressions, the subtle tones of a voice, or the feel of a changing environment. Intuition draws upon this enormous hidden library of patterns. When we face a new situation, our brain quickly scans its archives for similar patterns from the past. If it finds a match, it delivers a feeling or a hunch, a summary of all that previous learning. We can think of intuition as the brain's expert system. It doesn't show its work, it simply delivers the answer. This is why intuitive insights can feel so certain, yet so difficult to explain. We did not consciously walk through the logical steps, so we cannot easily retrace them for someone else. The conclusion seems to appear fully formed, a gift from the deeper, faster parts of our mind. It is a testament to the brain's incredible efficiency, its ability to process the world at a speed that conscious thought simply cannot match. It is a silent, powerful force guiding our judgments. There is a fascinating parallel between the nature of intuition and the process of synaptic plasticity. Both are about making connections. Synaptic plasticity physically forges and strengthens connections between individual neurons to build knowledge over time. Intuition, in a similar fashion, creates connections between disparate pieces of information, ideas, memories, and sensory inputs to form a new coherent whole. It is as if the brain takes all the strong, well-trodden neural pathways created by our experiences and instantly sees a new superhighway linking them all together. When we experience a flash of intuition, our brain is performing a remarkable act of synthesis. It is rapidly combining elements from its vast stored network of knowledge. Think of a detective looking at a chaotic crime scene. At first, the clues seem random: a footprint here, a dropped object there, an odd statement from a witness. Then, suddenly, a moment of insight connects all the pieces into a single, plausible story. This is intuition at work. It is not working with new facts, but with a new arrangement of the old ones. The brain has found a novel pathway through its existing network of information. This process mirrors how our neural network adapts. A strong memory is not just one powerful synapse. It is a whole constellation of them, firing together in a specific pattern. Intuition seems to operate at a higher level, finding connections between these entire constellations. It links the pattern of a nervous glance with the pattern of a half-truth and the pattern of a hidden motive to produce a feeling of distrust. Each of those base patterns was learned and strengthened through synaptic plasticity over years of social interaction. Intuition is the lightning-fast process that links them in a new context. This ability to find new connections is vital for our survival and adaptation. The world is rarely simple or predictable. We often face situations where the logical steps are not clear. In these moments, intuition allows our brain to make a creative leap. It combines what we know in new ways to generate a hypothesis, a gut feeling about the best way forward. Just as synaptic plasticity allows our brain to physically adapt to new information, intuition allows our mind to functionally adapt to new challenges. It is the brain's way of improvising, using the vast library it has built to compose a new piece of music on the spot. Intuition is not a purely intellectual process. It is deeply intertwined with our emotions and our personal history. Our feelings act as a powerful signal, a kind of internal compass that helps to guide our intuitive judgments. A sudden sense of unease, a wave of confidence, or a flicker of excitement can all be messages from our intuitive mind. These emotional responses are often the brain's quick summary of a complex situation. They are based on a rapid, unconscious evaluation of whether the current circumstances are similar to past events that led to good or bad outcomes. Our memories provide the raw material that our intuition works with. Every experience we have ever had, successful or unsuccessful, is stored away in the neural networks of our brain. When we face a decision, especially a quick one, our intuitive system scans this vast archive of personal memories. It looks for patterns and precedents. For example, an experienced business leader might get a bad feeling about a promising deal. This feeling is not baseless. It is likely their brain detecting subtle cues that resemble a past deal that went wrong, even if they cannot consciously pinpoint the similarities. Their past experiences are speaking to them through the language of emotion. This connection between emotion, memory, and intuition is a fundamental part of our decision-making toolkit. Emotions are not just distractions from rational thought. They are a form of information. They tag our memories with significance. A memory of a dangerous situation is stored with a strong tag of fear, while a memory of a joyful success is tagged with happiness. When our intuition processes a new situation, it also processes these emotional tags. This allows for an incredibly fast risk-benefit analysis. A situation that triggers echoes of fear-tagged memories will result in a gut feeling of avoid, long before the conscious mind has listed all the reasons why. Therefore, building good intuition is about more than just accumulating facts. It is about accumulating a rich library of life experiences. By exposing ourselves to diverse situations and paying attention to the outcomes, we are feeding our intuitive system. We are strengthening the synaptic pathways that store these lessons and refining the emotional tags associated with them. A person with a wealth of experience in a particular field has, in essence, a more detailed and accurate emotional compass. Their intuition becomes a reliable guide honed by years of trial and error, success and failure, all recorded in the living network of their brain. In an ideal world, we would always have all the facts we need to make a perfectly logical decision. But life is rarely so neat. We are constantly faced with uncertainty, ambiguity, and incomplete information. In these moments, when the analytical mind struggles for a foothold, intuition becomes an indispensable tool. It is our brain's best attempt to navigate the unknown. A gut feeling provides a direction, a starting hypothesis, when there is no clear and logical path forward. It allows us to act, to make a choice, even when the data is missing. Consider a firefighter entering a burning building. The situation is chaotic, unpredictable, and changes by the second. There is no time for a lengthy analysis of structural engineering or fire dynamics. The firefighter relies on a highly developed intuition, a feel for the fire. This feel is built upon thousands of hours of training and real-world experience. It allows them to make split-second decisions. This floor will hold. That room is about to flash over. That can mean the difference between life and death. Their intuition fills in the gaps where concrete information is absent, using deep-seated patterns to predict what might happen next. This ability is not limited to high-stakes professions. We use it every day in our social interactions. When we meet someone new, we often form an instant impression. This first impression is an intuitive judgment. We are unconsciously processing a torrent of subtle cues, their posture, tone of voice, eye contact, and choice of words. Our brain compares this complex pattern to the thousands of other social patterns stored in our memory and delivers a summary. This person seems trustworthy, or something feels off here. We are making a judgment in the absence of a full biography, using our intuition to navigate the social landscape. Therefore, intuition should not be dismissed as mere guesswork. It is a sophisticated cognitive strategy for dealing with an uncertain world. It allows us to generate a probable answer from incomplete data. While it is not infallible, intuition can be misled by biases or flawed experiences. It is an incredibly powerful and efficient tool. It gives us the courage to make a move, to take a leap of faith, whether in business, relationships, or creative pursuits. It is the mental faculty that helps us chart a course through the fog, trusting the vast, silent wisdom stored within our own minds. One of the most remarkable aspects of intuition is that it operates before conscious thought and language. It is a form of pre-verbal thinking. The feeling, the hunch, the insight arrives in our awareness first as a raw sensation or a sudden certainty. The process of finding the words to explain it comes later, if at all. This suggests that the deep processing that underlies intuition happens in parts of the brain that are not directly tied to our linguistic centers. It is a more ancient, more fundamental form of cognition, one that we share with many other creatures in the animal kingdom. Think of an athlete in the middle of a game. A tennis player does not have time to say to themselves, "My opponent is shifting their weight to their left foot," which indicates they are likely to hit a cross-court forehand, so I should move to my right. The action is instantaneous. The player's body is already moving, reacting to a complex pattern of cues. This is a physical form of intuition. The brain has processed the situation and sent instructions directly to the muscles, completely bypassing the slow, cumbersome process of putting the thought into words. The knowing is in the doing. This pre-verbal nature is why intuitive insights can be so difficult to articulate. We are trying to translate a rich, complex, multi-layered pattern recognition into the linear, sequential structure of language. It is like trying to describe a beautiful painting using only mathematical equations. The translation will inevitably lose something. The full context, the subtle connections, the emotional weight of the intuitive feeling. All of this is hard to capture in words. The certainty we feel is rooted in a holistic synthesis of information that our verbal mind struggles to deconstruct into logical steps. Ultimately, understanding this silent language of the brain allows us to appreciate intuition for what it is, a powerful and legitimate way of knowing. It is not a replacement for rational analysis, but a vital partner to it. By learning to listen to these pre-verbal signals, we can make better, more holistic decisions. We can tap into the immense processing power of our unconscious mind and the deep well of experience stored within our neural networks. Embracing intuition is embracing the full symphony of the mind, allowing the quiet, swift melodies of instinct to harmonize with the deliberate, articulate notes of reason. It is in this balance that we find our truest wisdom and our greatest capacity to adapt and thrive.